Hello. I hope you and yours are safe and healthy. I'm sure you see the haze in the air and are being cautious, especially if you have breathing issues. It's also time for a summer gardening report as we look forward to our annual salad lunch on July 30th. If you haven't been before, it's a happy get-together when we share a lunch, some of which always comes from our respective gardens, and we get to brag about our gardens a little bit. I hope you'll be a part of it. As always happens, some of my crops did better than others, and there were surprises and disappointments. Zucchini did great, tomatoes fine, but the deer ate all of my beans and peas. But as also always happens, more seems to grow than should, and I always get a few volunteer plants from previous years peeking up among other crops. So I do like that gospel lesson we had last Sunday. It's Jesus' first parable in Matthew, and metaphorically, it's as rich as compost. It's a story about patience because growth is slow. It's a story about discerning and employing the gifts we have. I mean, a sower went out to sow, after all. It's a story about being faithful and leaving the success to God. For what grows and what doesn't is not always within our control. And it's a story about the abundant, wildly extravagant love of God. God scatters with abandon in the never-ending hope that we will respond and grow. Our own soil has developed its character for good and ill in serendipitous ways. Many of us know how odd things can make great changes in our lives. We dropped seed in what we thought was good soil, and it turned out to be bad, and vice versa. We ended up in a new city just because we met one person or they found us accidentally. A lot of things happen by chance, and yet this parable says it's not so much chance as the placement of seed. The way we met someone or accepted a certain job or became parents may have interesting accidents attached. And of course, anyone who knows anything at all about raising kids, or roses for that matter, knows about the serendipity of soil. How deep is our soil? We know that at some time we've all been everywhere in God's path, among the rocky soil, among the thorns, on the path, occasionally proving fertile for God's purposes. God casts the kingdom among us no matter where we are, but are we cultivating our soil, the hallowed ground of our souls? Are we cooperating with God in the growth that God, the ultimate owner of that holy land, so longs for in us? God, the owner and sower, has taken the initiative in creating us. In our baptism, we're marked as Christ's own forever. And living into that baptism is a long act of cultivation, so that when the sower sows, we might have the depth of soil to bear fruit. Breaking bread together, praying even when we don't hear answers, participating in Christian education are all ways to cultivate our soil. The kind of growth God desires in us is growth that is sure and solid, not growth that ceases as quickly as it began. And as we worship and pray and learn together, we can develop the depth of soil that can receive more of God's abundant grace and bear the fruits of God's kingdom. Most of us are probably thinking that the seed of God's love within us is more like the seed that falls on the open path and gets picked off by birds, or falls among thorns or rocks and fails to thrive, or somehow never puts its roots down deep enough to develop and flourish. We make a start at it, maybe many starts, but somehow fail to become truly and habitually loving to the point where we see that love transforming the lives and the world around us. Is there any hope for such ordinary saints like ourselves who don't feel our soil is very deep at all, and in whom the seed of love is all too often strangled by thorns? There is good news for us. Remember the wildly generous God who sows. The seed has indeed been cast. God has flung it wide across the land freely, indiscriminately, without regard to the soil, and no doubt some has fallen on us. Perhaps we're not the 100-fold type. Perhaps not even 60 or 30, but who knows? Maybe amid the barrenness, the thorns, and the rocks of our life's pathways, a seed or two has found some of God's good, deep, rich soil, even in us, and begun to sprout, to put down roots and grow high into the sky. And who can say what soil we have within, or what the seed of God may yet produce in us? See you soon.